Assalamu alaikum. Today we will share with you snapshots of our frigate tuna dissection. During this time, the internal anatomy and the function of each organ will be discussed. So please be attentive. The fish we have dissected has the name of frigate tuna, but this is the common name. Here is a detailed naming for the fish. The frigate tuna belongs to the kingdom Animalia, to the phylum Chordata, to the class Actinopterygi, in the order Scombriformes, to the Scombridae family, in the genus of Axis, and the species name is Tazar. So its name, scientific naming is Axis tazar.
The frigate tuna has a strong and elongated body and a single line of tiny pointed teeth. The dorsal fin have a well-defined gap in between them. The second dorsal fin is tiny and has a row of even tinier finlets, 8 in total. The anal fin also characteristically small and its pectoral fin quite short. The coloring on the back is deep metallic blue-black and it fades to a kind of purple approaching the head. The distribution of this species can be found in tropical and subtropical waters. It is reported to rarely occur in the Atlantic Ocean. The frigate tuna measures around 12 inches on average and weighs 2 pounds, but it can reach a length of 22 inches and weight of 10 pounds. This fish species is reported to live up to 5 years. Frigate tuna is known to be a cosmopolitan fish species. It exists worldwide in coastal and oceanic waters. Its eggs and larvae are pelagic, but its adults are epipelagic, neurotic, and oceanic, preferring to stay in shallow coastal waters and water columns. The frigate tuna considered an omnivore. It normally consumes smaller fish, planktonic crustacean, squids, and stomatopods larvae. It is also reported to feed on the young of its own species.
The photograph here is showing the fish intestine. Like other vertebrates, the fish intestine is divided into two fragments, the small and the large intestine. The small intestine is further subdivided but it's not very obvious in small fishes. The gut is folded in the inner surface in a spiral shape, so the digestion in the gut takes place in the spiral intestine, which connects the stomach to the rectum. Here is the pyloric ceca. It is a small pouch-like structure found at the interior part of the large intestine. It receives waste from the ileum. It increases the surface area for the absorption of the most essential nutrients needed by the body.
As indicated by the arrow, the stomach receives the food from the esophagus. As food reaches the end of the esophagus, it enters the stomach through a muscular valve called the lower esophageal sphincter. The stomach secretes acid and enzyme that digest food. Stomach muscle contract periodically, churning food to enhance digestion. The pyloric sphincter is a muscular valve that opens to allow food to pass from the stomach to the next organ, which is the small intestine. We are pointing here the kidney. The kidney of fish are typically narrow, elongated organ occupying a significant portion of the trunk. They are similar to the mesonephros of higher vertebrate, reptiles, birds, and mammals. The kidney contain a cluster of nephrons in many cartilaginous fish. The anterior portion of the kidney may degenerate or cease to function altogether in the adult. Fish do not have a discrete adrenal gland with a distinct cortex and medulla similar to those found in mammals. Indicating here the swim bladder or gas bladder. It is an internal organ that contributes to the ability of fish to control its buoyancy, and thus to stay at the current water depth, ascend or descend without having to waste energy in swimming. The bladder is found only in the bony fishes and in the more primitive groups like some bikers and lungfish. The bladder is open to the esophagus and doubles as a lung. Fish with the bladder open to the esophagus are called physostomes, while fish with the bladder closed are called physoclists. In this letter, the gas content of the bladder is controlled through arteriomarbles, a network of blood vessels affecting gas exchange between the bladder and the blood.
It is often described as two-chambered heart, as indicated by the arrows, consisting of one atrium to receive blood and one ventricle to pump it, in contrast to three chambers, two atria, one ventricle of amphibian and most reptile hearts, and four chambers, two atria, two ventricles of mammal and bird hearts. However, the fish heart has entry and exit compartments that may be called chambers, so it's also sometimes described as three-chambered or four-chambered, depending on what is counted as a chamber. The atrium and ventricle are sometimes considered true chambers, while the others are considered accessory chambers. As shown by the arrow, the liver is a large vital organ present in all fish. It has a wide range of functions, including detoxification, protein synthesis, and production of biochemicals necessary for digestion. It's very vulnerable to contamination by organic and inorganic compounds because they can accumulate over time and cause potentially life-threatening conditions. Because of the liver capacity for detoxification and storage of harmful components, it's often used as an environmental biomarker. The spleen is found in nearly all vertebrates. It's a non-vital organ, similar in structure to a large lymph node. It acts primarily as a blood filter and plays important roles in regards to red blood cells and the immune system. In cartilaginous and bony fish, it consists primarily of red pulp and is normally a somewhat elongated organ as it actually lies inside the serosal lining of the intestine.
Actually, we have done two dissections. In the first dissection, some of the internal organs were not that much clear, so we have decided to do a second trial of dissection, and we have came with an idea to do a small comparison between our first and second dissection.
The swim bladder in snapperfish was swollen, while in frigate tuna, the swim bladder was free of air due to the way and the period of storage. Gallbladder is conspicuous in frigate tuna, whereas the gallbladder is atrophic in snapperfish, because they require a continuous supply of bile for digestion of fat in the intestine. The biliarexica in frigate tuna was so clear, but the biliarexica in snapperfish was exploited due to the sharp change in pressure because it inhabits the benthos.